Okay, I've got the electronic fuel injection off the 1997 Road King. I guess this thing is a Magneti Marelli. Anyway, I'm going to start tearing this thing down. Obviously, it's pretty grimy. First thing I'll do is take the fuel lines off. I've got some new O-rings and everything for that. Take the injectors out, and whatever these pieces are, I'm sure there's a throttle position sensor, and looks like a motor up here or some type of unit. Sure that this is probably a temperature sensor or something like that. So anyway, I'm going to start getting this apart. Okay, kind of have a lot going on here right now. I've got this fuel injection pretty well stripped down to the throttle body. I've got the injectors out, the fuel fittings, temperature sensor, and fuel pressure regulator. And then there's I guess it's a cold idle motor that goes in there, and all of the pieces for the intake here. Now I did get a new O-ring set for, here's the part, and then I've got a new breather hose, and I've got new O-rings for the fuel lines, and also some new gaskets and some additional O-rings for the fuel. So the input is the air temperature sensor and also the throttle position sensor. I am going to open these screws. Right now it's kind of locked down and there's some epoxy in the screws, but I do want to check it, take a measurement, and if I have to adjust it, I will. And other than that, the only other input I believe is the engine temperature sensor that is on the head. And then the outputs obviously are the injectors, 2 injectors, and then the cold idle motor. So pretty simple system, and I would imagine if it's set up correctly, it should be pretty carefree if all the sensors are working and everything. So we'll see when I get this thing back together. I haven't replaced any sensors yet or anything. So I'm just got it all cleaned up, and it was rather grimy, and cleaned everything up, and I'm just getting ready to put it back together now. So I'll get a shot when it's all back together. I want to talk a little bit more about this fuel injection, Magneti Marelli. And as you can see here, I got rid of the ugly skull cover, just flipped the thing over and polished it up a little bit. I am having I guess an issue with the bike kind of stutters at about, I don't know, 2000 RPM or something like that. And I went according to the setup instructions for the throttle position sensor, and also the cold idle setting, and first noticed it, and I went back and then checked the voltage again on the throttle position sensor throughout the throttle range, 0 to 100%. And down there, I guess around, I don't know, 10%, 15% open throttle, I found a little bit of a dead spot on the throttle position sensor. And as you can see, I took the epoxy out of the screws, made my adjustments, and so forth. And again, I measured the voltage throughout the entire range of the TPS and had a little bit of a dead spot. I opened the throttle wide open and closed a couple times. It seemed to go away. Took the bike out for another spin, and still having the issue. So I am probably going to replace this TPS. Hopefully I can get one that works. I can't find one specifically for a 97, but they do start from, I think, 98 up through 2001 or something like that. The other thing is, this bike does have a Power Commander PC3, and talk about that in a second. Okay, so first up, I did write down the procedure for setting up the fuel injection, and as you can see, there's about, I don't know, 6 steps here. So went through that, and again, I did mention that the bike does have a Power Commander, and I was able to load the PC3 software off of the DynoJet website, and I was able to load the map that came out of the bike. Luckily, the USB was a little bit crusty on there, and here is the original map. And as you can see, there was some notes in here. It is not an Andrews 503, but I do suspect that the air cleaner is equivalent, and perhaps the cam that is in there is roughly equivalent. Let's see, the notes that I have on the cam. It is a SEH-3 Screaming Eagle Stage 2 cam, so probably comparable. I did go in there and tweak my map a little bit. The bike is running a little bit rich, I believe. I haven't pulled the plugs, but when I pulled the original plugs, they were a bit black. So this is my custom tune, and you can see I pulled a little more fuel out of the lower RPM settings, just trying to smooth things out. I didn't take any fuel out on the top. In fact, there were a couple places where I put fuel back in it. These negatives are percent from the base map, and as well as the positives. So anyway, a couple of percent here and there probably isn't gonna do a whole lot. I should really get this thing on a dyno and get it tuned, but I do want to get that TPS issue straightened out if that is in fact what the problem is. So anyway, that's kind of a summary on the fuel injection, kind of an ongoing process, but it does seem like a simple system. I don't want to change it out just yet until I've done everything I can to make it function properly. Nice thing on this bike, it does have the Power Commander. I can adjust my fuel and ignition map, so at least something that I can make adjustments, and ultimately if I take it to a dyno, I will have it tuned professionally. So that kind of sums it up on the fuel injection, so stand by.